Hey guys, welcome to another Stay Series video. For those who don't know me yet, due to the virus or did not watch the video last week, I am the summer youth intern, Jacob, and I'm super excited to be here. We have another Stay Series video. Stay Series is a video series done by CYC Challenge Youth Conference. And we're in the next one. And our speaker today, the video I'll be showing you is done by Colin Little. And he has a big message for us about staying holy and how we can stay holy and what it means to be holy. So let's tune in and watch the video, guys.
In our series we're talking about, it's the idea of staying holy. And so what we're going to look at is the idea of the word holy. And so what it brought to my mind was the word, when you define it, the word holy means to be set apart or to be different. And so 1 Peter 2 verses 9 through 12 is what we're going to look at. And it starts off with this: but you are a chosen race. Think about that. You're chosen by God. You're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for His own possession. Literally, God claims you as His own here, that you may proclaim the excellencies of Him who had called you out of the darkness into His marvelous light. We were once in the dark, as we know, and we were once in sin, and we once were a part of that darkness, but now He has called us when you become a child of God. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Beloved, I urge you as sojourners, as travelers, we see, and exiles, people who are not of this world, to abstain from the passions of the flesh which wage war against your soul. Keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of your visitation. So I thought about this, and I thought about a story for us to think about for just a moment. In the novel Rough Justice, a memorable scene describes a little boy named Brian going to church for the first time with his governess, his teacher, you could say. He watches with interest every part of the service. Think about that. The first time you went to church, did you watch with intent about what all was going on when the Lord's Supper was passing around, when the sermon was getting ready to be prepared, when the prayers, the scripture was being read? When the preacher began to get up during this story, this illustration here, Brian hears him tell terrible news. It's about a brave and a kind man who was nailed to the cross. He was terribly hurt a long time ago, and who still feels the dreadful pain even now, because there was something not done that he wants them all to do. Little Brian thinks that the preacher's telling a story that will do that people here sitting here in this audience will do something about it. He begins to weep, but nobody else seems upset at all. The service is over. The people walk out as if they've never heard any terrible news at all, as if nothing remarkable had happened. As Brian leaves church, he is trembling. His governess looks at him and says, "Brian, don't take it to heart. Someone will think you are different." And so when we think about the word different or the word holy, let's describe it as this. It means to be alive and sensitive in one's spirit. It means to show emotion. It means to listen to what's going on in God's house. You know, when we think about the steps of salvation, we hear about the word hear. And you know, when we're listening what's going on in God's house, really to hear and to respond to what's being said. And then also to be different is to take Jesus Christ seriously. You know, ought not us as Christians be different? Should we not have different lifestyles and be a different thing, or being set apart as we've talked? The biblical word holy describes the contemporary word different. And that's why I use it in this study. Because a holy person is not an odd person, but a different person. A holy person has a quality about their life that is unique. A holy person has a lifestyle that is changed from their old lifestyle and is set apart from the lifestyles of the unbelievers or those around them. And a holy person takes Jesus Christ seriously. Believers that live in Christ have been called to live unique lives and a different lifestyle. 1 Peter 1 verse 15 and 16 said, "But as the one who has called you is holy, you also are to be holy in all your conduct. For it is written, 'Be holy, because I am holy.'" And actually, you know, when we think about it, the word called may be a little passive. And we think about it, we have been commanded to live a holy life, and energetic and blazing with holiness. Eugene Peterson described the life in the Message as this. Someone once said, "We may choose a married life or a single life, but it's not left for us to choose whether or not to have a holy life. Holiness should not be an option, it is mandatory." And the 4 points I want us to think about is this. The first is this: the problem with being different or being holy is this. And you may say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to choose to do this. I don't want to choose to be this way because I'm hearing that the word holiness is going to make me stand out or be different, and it might be ridiculed or attacked. But the holiness thing isn't too much for us, because when we think about it, the only thing is, the problem with us is Satan's telling us that to be different is going to make you unusual. But why is it? Because we value conformity. We value conforming to the ways of the world. We don't want to stand out in the crowd. We want to be wearing the same style of clothes. We want to talk the latest slang. We want to conform to the things that are in right now. And like the governess, we see what we fear the most in life is being different. We don't want to be perceived as being odd. We have become an assembly line society where we just want to fit in and keep going with everything else that's going in life. We're terrified of being set apart. We visualize an idea of holiness too as well. We don't want to act on this idea. We don't like the idea because it communicates the attitude and it displays the actions of the idea of we're holier than thou. You know, some people may look at us and be like, oh, well, you think this way or you're that way. But in reality, we dislike that behavior because it's putting people on pedestals and it's making those better than the rest. Jesus despised that type of morality and mentality in the Pharisees, and we should agree with him. We see that. And we misunderstand it sometimes what the word holy means or what it means to be. The additional weight to our reasoning is this, because living a life of holiness conjures up images of maybe being a monk or a priest, and you isolate yourself. You can't do anything of the world because we make those images of ourselves. Real holiness, though, the genuine and authentic character of being different, is none of those things. Yet it is more than that, because what does it mean to be different? The Apostle Peter answers that question. In 1 Peter 1 verse 13, it means that we're going to think differently. It means to begin with the proper preparation of our minds. We're to take the initiative in preparing our minds for this life of holiness. It requires effort and hard work. And I thought about this. Behavioral scientists have discovered that our human behavior is even determined by the great extent of our subconscious minds. The computer vocabulary graphically describes the potential of our human behavior as this. The garbage comes in and then the garbage goes out. In the same way, to be different, it begins with our minds. Our minds must be holy if our behavior is to be holy. Proverbs 23 verse 7 says, "For as he thinks within himself, so he is." And the Apostle Paul warns us to not let the world squeeze us into that mold, to squeeze us and conform us. In Romans 12 verse 2, "Do not be conformed to this age, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is good, what is pleasing and perfect with the will of God." And it also means that we live differently. In 1 Peter 1 verse 17, it's a natural outgrowth of our right thinking is right living. When we begin to think new thoughts, we begin to live this distinct life. One writer would often speak of God, and he explains that the writer went to Walden's Pond to live a simple life because he wanted to find those answers about life that you and I seek. He said, "I went to the woods because I wished to front on the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." And at another time he also commented, he said, "If a man does not keep the pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music that he hears, however measured or far away." Any man or woman who accomplishes anything worthwhile must have the courage to live differently, because they are marching to a different drummer and are not afraid to step out. It also means that we're going to live or love differently. 1 Peter 1 verse 22 says, "Love sets us apart." Love is a display of holiness. Love is the litmus test of Christians. It is not just any kind of love, though. It's a sincere love. It's genuine. It's authentic, like God's love for us. Our motive is not to get, but to give. Deep love, it is intense, it is fervent. It means to love with all of our strength. Christian love is not a feeling. It's a matter of the will. Pure love, it is spotless, clean. Men speak romantically about loving from the heart, but God speaks realistically about loving from a pure heart. This same kind of love that Jesus talked about in John chapter 13, verse 35. "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Love one another sincerely, deeply, and pure. And people will know that you are different. They will know that you are followers of God. They will know that you are holy. In the first century, a pagan went to report on the early church movement. He visited a compound with many Christians. And he was thinking of the thoughts, well, hey, I'm going to go and find ways that I can tear them apart, that I can criticize them, that I can just basically find something bad about them. But instead he wrote, behold, how they love one another. And also it means that we're going to talk differently. In 1 Peter 2, verse 1, different thinking leads to different living, which leads then to loving differently, which leads to different talking. The words we use reveal most obviously if we are truly different or not. We live in a world that uses words to build up, to encourage, but then we also live in a world where they also can tear down and discourage and just manipulate and so many things. Those are those that use words to build up people, and there's words that can tear them down. And when we think about this, there are people who are different that use those words to build people up. You know, words are powerful. They can edify, to give life, but they can also have the power to discourage and to kill dreams. Have you ever had your joy stolen because of someone's reckless words? Or had your self-esteem destroyed by someone's hurtful words? You know, today the world has a desperate need for people who are different. We need people who will carry their faith to school like you, to carry your faith to work like your parents, to carry your faith into Congress, into society, into many things that we face, and in your home. We need people who will be different if it will cost them their social popularity, their economic fortunes, or their very lives. One does not obtain this simple kind of distinctiveness except through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. He's the one that issues the different beat, the drum beat, as we said, the different drummer. He's the one that calls us to stand out of the crowd, to be distinct, separate, unusual. And I want to finish by reading these lyrics from a song, and then I want us to think about two main things. I don't want to hear anymore, teach me to listen. I don't want to see anymore, give me a vision. That you could move this heart to be set apart. That I don't need to recognize the man in the mirror. I don't want to trade your plan for something familiar. I can't waste a day. I can't stay the same. I want to be different. I want to be changed till all of me is gone and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. If you put in the word holy there, you think about it, He calls us to stay different and He calls us to stay holy.
1 Peter 1, starting in verse 13, reads, Therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully in the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance, but as He who called you is holy, you also be holy in all of your conduct. Since it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. So this is Peter. He's telling us to be holy and what it means to be holy. And as in the video we just watched, the speaker, he tells us being holy is to be different. And here it says to be holy because God is holy. God is holy. God is set apart from the world. God doesn't sin. And it quotes scripture from Leviticus 11, verse 44. Here in verse 16 that I just wrote, you shall be holy, for I am holy. God originally said this to the Israelites, His chosen people. God has always wanted His people. And we as Christians are His people as well. He's always wanted His people since the beginning to be holy because God is holy. God is set apart from sin. God is different than sin. God is better than sin. And we can look and see how to be holy. As in 1 Peter 2, verse 9, that the speaker talked about in the video. Peter, he talks about being a chosen race, a holy nation, and His people, God's people. And we're to be holy because of that. Holy means to be different, as the speaker talked about. And to be different, there's different ways you can be different. You can be different in a good way and a bad way. But being holy, being different from the world in a good way, in a positive way, in a positive light. To be different, to be holy. This definition of different is to be alive and sensitive in one's spirit, to show emotion, to feel something. When you're at church, you need to pay attention, you need to listen. But also when you're in the world, when you're at work, when you're at school, wherever you're at, you need to be set apart. You don't need to participate in the things that are worldly, that are sinful, that are wicked. To be holy, for God is holy. To be holy, to be different, means to listen to what's going on in church, to listen to what the Bible says. There's so much in the Bible, so much knowledge, and we can always continue to grow, no matter if you're 2 years old or younger or 100 years old. You can still grow. You can still grow in your knowledge of the Word of God. No matter your age, there's still stuff you can learn, still stuff you can follow. And we need to strive to be holy. We need to take Jesus Christ seriously. As the speaker mentioned in the video, he mentioned that. Some people don't take Christ seriously. They play him off. Like, some people say he didn't actually exist. Some people say he was not the Son of God. Some people, even back then, when Jesus lived on this earth and healed people, said Jesus was not the Son of God, which is false. And that's not taking Jesus seriously. But we as Christians, we need to be holy. We need to take Christ seriously. We need to pay attention to what he tells us. We need to pay attention to what Christ did and imitate it. Be holy, for he is holy. God is holy. Christ is holy. And this message the speaker gave us, that the biblical word holy is the contemporary word different. We are called to be holy. We have been commanded to live a holy life. And there's different ways we can do that. But there's one way ultimately we can do that. And that is following God. And some people, they have a problem with being holy because they're like, you're being holier than thou. You're being better than us just because you think you're better because you're a Christian. That's not really what holiness is. When we're holy, we need to be set apart, different from sin. We need to be, being holy is not thinking we're better than others. Being holy, it's living a life different than sin, different than the world. And then it's helping others try to live that different life. That is what being holy is. It's not thinking we're better, thinking we deserve more than other people do, because we don't. We all are sinners. But to be holy is to recognize we're sinners and to try to be different, and to try to follow God, and to bring others with us and help others when we do this. And the meaning of being different, it means that we think differently, that we live differently, that we love differently, that we talk differently. The world is a wicked place. There's so much sin that goes on around us. Whether we're in school still, or if we're at work, living life as an adult. There's still going to be sin. There's wickedness all around. But we got to be different. We got to think different than those people think. We got to think purity. Think pure thoughts. And we need to live differently. There's some lifestyles that people live that are not holy, as we keep talking about. We got to be different than that. We got to follow Christ, not just in the church building. Being a Christian is not limited to this building. Being a Christian is not limited to anywhere. You have to be a Christian when you're in the church building. You got to be a Christian when you're at the grocery store, when you're in the drive-thru line, when you're at a restaurant, when you're at work, when you're alone, by yourself or alone with a significant other. No matter who you're with, you have to be a Christian. You have to be holy, no matter who you are living around. You have to love differently. The world has a construed view of love, but pure love, God's love, is holy. This love that's not fake, this love that is real, this love that is authentic. That's what holiness is. If you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, I'm not going to read it for us, but I encourage you to read it in your own time. It tells us about love and how to have a different love, a holy love, a godly love. And we have to talk different. The tongue is a powerful tool. In the book of James, James tells us that the tongue can be used for blessing and it can be used for cursing. The tongue has the power to lift people up, and our tongue has the power to tear people down. Like that, snap of a hand. But we have to talk differently. We have to say uplifting things, encourage people, pure things. The world around us may be using inappropriately jokes and words that are not holy. But we have to be different than that. We have to be set apart. We can't be conformed to the world, but transformed. In Romans 12, verses 1 through 2 tells us that. And so we have to be different. We have to stand up and stand out. To be holy is to be for Christ. That's what it means ultimately, to be different and to be for Christ. So let's do this. Let's be different. I encourage me, you, listening, us all, to be holy. Try not to hear anymore, but to listen, to actually pay attention to what the Bible says and what the preacher says. And try not to see our own vision, but God's vision. We're in God's time, not ours. And our plans are not always going to go our ways. But God's plan is always there. God always has a plan for us, and we need to follow that. You have to try to be less of a sinner and more of Christ. And we ain't going to be perfect, but we have to follow Christ in everything that we do. And so let's not waste today. Let's live today. It is given to you. God gave us this day so that we can live. And we ain't going to relive it. I'm never going to have this time back. The time that I'm spending right now, the time that you're spending right now, we ain't going to have this time ever again. So live it as a Christian. Make the best out of today. Make the most out of today. Be holy, for God is holy. God calls us to be different. He calls us to be holy. So let us be holy. And so I have a couple discussion questions for us today. I have 3 of them. The first one is, who are people in your life who are holy, who are truly different from the world? It may be a father, a mother, a friend, co-worker, a cousin, a grandparent, an elder in the church, a minister in the church, a youth minister, a deacon, just a friend, Christian friend, an uncle, whoever it may be. Who are these people in your life that are set apart from the world, who live in a way that is different from the world? And how do they do this? Let's look at this, think about this. These questions are going to be at the end of this video on a slide, and you can look at it, screenshot it, whatever you want to do, so that you have these questions and you can think about it. And the second question is, how can we truly be holy? How can we personally live holy? As we talked about, being holy is being different, being set apart from the world. But how can you do that? How can I do that? How can we live this life that is different than sin while helping others live the same life? So let's think about that. And the third and final question for us today is, why is it important to be holy? what's the importance? If there was not an importance to being holy, there would be no point in doing it. But we are to be holy. So thank you for listening to this video today. I hope you tune in next week to the Stay Series video. It's been a good series. I'm super glad I have got to do it with y'all. And so have a good week and be holy, for God is holy.